This video is sponsored by Skillshare. When I started painting, I had an idea for the theme of this painting, but honestly I didn't have any clue on how the composition would work. I'm using bare brush from my own brush set, and that's the only brush I'm using for this entire painting. The silhouette of this brush might look intimidating because the brush stroke is much smoother in reality than what it looks like in the stroke preview panel. If you have my brush set, don't let that put you off from trying this. The reason why I love bare brush so much is because it's so much fun to mess around with color blending. I could just do this type of mixing all day and enjoy it. And you can probably do the same stuff with any of the default brushes already in Procreate. Just use whatever that feels comfortable to you. It would be tough to make a video out of me doing just this, but I like letting the colors tell me what to do. Most people like using line art for this part of the process. If you feel like that works better for you, then definitely go for it. Art in general is already difficult enough that I'm not a big fan of telling anybody how it should be made. There's so much talk about pushing yourself and going outside of your comfort zone. To an outsider, it might seem like art is this 24/7 bootcamp of suffering. We should all take art a whole lot easier. It's not that serious. No matter how easy you try to make a painting for yourself, the difficulty will always find you in the process anyway. You can trust me on this. This is not my first whale painting and not the last one either, but it wasn't any easier than the ones that I've already done before this. Same goes for that island that I did in the live stream earlier. It's a topic I'm very familiar with, yet even with that painting I struggled a whole lot because getting those colors in balance was just incredibly tricky. I went back and forth with the tiniest of edits before it all came together, and before that it just seemed like it's going to be a disaster. Why am I talking about this? Because so many keep asking me if it's too late to start painting. Now I know this might not make sense at first. I wish I could answer these guys that if that is your serious question, then I'd say that you're probably not ready to start painting yet. Here's why. This question implies that art is a mountain to climb. This is a pretty common metaphor when it comes to learning a skill. At the top of the mountain, paintings come easy. Commissions are lined up for months. You can start any painting, any piece with confidence that it will turn into an object of envy for others. I'm sorry if that's your goal in life, but in my opinion, that's just nonsense. This whole concept doesn't make any sense for me. Art is not a mountain to climb. If it even is a mountain, then you're probably already on top of it and you're trying to come down. Did you know that the most fatal climbing accidents on Mount Everest happen on the way down, not when climbing the mountain, but when people are coming down from having reached the summit? I know this doesn't sound more motivational, but give me a second here. The peak of the mountain limits everyone to descend this very narrow, dangerous path. Everyone must come through that same path and use the same skills to get to a lower altitude. After a few camps, there's more oxygen and winds are less lethal. You can just basically fall to your death and be done with the whole mountain climbing. That tiny path is like the fundamentals of art when you start painting for the first time. In art school, where everyone is taught the same basics, but after that, you're not expected to keep traveling to the same direction. The beginning is the most dangerous though. In the beginning, you want to quit every painting because it just feels so hard. Pretty much every painting falls short from what you thought it should look like. Even learning might feel less fun because you have to do the same exercises with your class. Where's the fun in that? Where's the adventure? These are just some of the reasons why you might not make it to those first few safer camps. But if this was a mountain that you're climbing instead of descending, you might think that there's not enough time. If you have this common belief, you might have already put some of your favorite artists on that mountain. You want to go to where they already are, and that road looks like 20 years of practice. I don't think this is a good way to frame your journey. It just doesn't work that way. The basics are difficult, but they don't take that long to get through. With enough commitment, it's reasonable to assume that anybody could get a good understanding of the fundamentals in 3 years. This is basically the length of most art schools. For some, it's more For some, it's less. It all depends on how much time and energy you commit to it. But it's hardly an eternity. That's just 3 years. And it's not the end either. Like, that's not the end goal of learning art. You're just starting and you're never gonna stop, ever. If this part of the path is the most difficult part, then the next part we're going to get to is the most interesting part, and that makes all of this worth it. Since this video is about lifelong learners, let's talk about Skillshare that has made this video possible. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. Most classes are under 60 minutes with short lessons that fit any schedule. Last time I mentioned the class on branding, but recently I watched Sorel Amor's class. It's called YouTube Success: Build an Authentic Channel That's Worth the Follow. You can find it in the Skillshare originals. I love Sorel's YouTube channel, and despite our channels being so different, I think she has really good ideas in this class on how to make the act of content creation something that is sustainable. Because let's be honest, making content is so hard that it's worth learning to make the process less draining for the creator, especially if you plan on doing it for a while. The whole class is the type of stuff that I'm really interested in, because it's so rare to see content creators talk about the actual theory of their message. We just usually see the end result. The thing that inspires me about these classes on Skillshare is seeing these people who are doing all these creative projects, and seeing them always makes me want to be more productive, as there's always someone who has done something like the problem that I am dealing with already in their own way. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads and they're always launching new premium classes, so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. And it's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership, so you can explore your creativity. When you're on safer ground, when you're not thinking about quitting art anymore, you'll have other way more interesting things to occupy your mind. What are you going to do now with these hard-earned tools in your possession? Slowly you'll notice that everyone is going their own way. In an art class, you might think somebody's ahead of you and you're trying to catch up with their art skills. After coming down from the most dangerous part of the mountain though, you'll notice that you're less interested in chasing them. This chase might have looked like a competition at first, but you don't want to be the first anymore. Because to be first, you need to be going to the same direction, and you have your own destination to get to. Maybe your previous competition now wants to design cars for the rest of his life. Does that sound like something that you should focus on? Probably not. What interests you? This is a serious question, because it's usually very quiet voice that doesn't seem that obvious. If you're still too focused on the chase, that competition, then you'll have even harder time hearing it. How are you ever going to navigate if you're too focused on sprinting? Finding what interests you is not usually a big burning sign or a desire. It's just something that feels pleasant. If you lean into those small moments, let the work itself drive every now and then a little bit, it will mold into a clear path. It will start showing that this way is the easy way because it feels more pleasant. It will still be work, but it will be work that you want to do. Those things that I find enjoyable in art and painting, they're not going to go away. They're not based on something as fleeting as energy to hustle or even inspiration, because I can't trust on those things. They're too flimsy of concepts to hold on to, but my likes will always be there. What interests me will always be there. It's something that is just going to always be there. I will always love messing with different brushstrokes. I don't need divine intervention for that, but it did take me a really long time to find or admit that my enjoyment comes from something so basic or simple. Letting go of the chase, that competition, just letting go of all of that definitely helped. If I was still trying to be the better artist or the more skilled or respected or more popular one, it would still distort my goals and destination as something that aligns with that mindset. It would be difficult to see where I really want to be going. There is a way to paint where you can almost tell that this will make the end result impressive. And it always feels like super gross and demotivating to me, because I know that's not my authentic voice, and that's not the effect that I want my work to have on others. If I want to invite people to my worlds through my works, then I have to make inviting work, and there's nothing less inviting than a painting that's just a visual flex of all the different techniques the artist knows. It's not cool to admit this, but I used to make paintings like that. I was afraid of looking weak, and the chase completely blinded me from seeing why am I even doing any of this. That kind of mindset will make art less fun, because you won't have time to pay attention to the things that you actually enjoy and like about the whole process. Because the process, that's most of the work. Finishing a piece, well, then your painting is done. You don't need to spend any time with it anymore. The work is where the life happens when you're an artist. All of this is not to say art is now easy for me. It's not. Whatever your goals turn out to be, they will require you to develop specific skills to make that journey. I don't think this is something unique to me, but I think creative people are built for learning new things. The process is always different. Every painting requires new ways of thinking. Overcoming those difficulties always just makes you hungry to learn more. Every visual problem you solve opens a whole set of new paths that weren't even visible before. This isn't even a mountain, it's a whole forest, and there are no paths either to where you're going. After this, you're just on your own, discovering something completely new and unique to you. Also, I'm going to speak for the rest of us artists for a second here. Nobody's trying to compete with where you're going. We'd all be just perfectly happy if you send us postcards and pictures and let the rest of us see what you discover, because we haven't put in that work to go into that direction, and whatever you make and whatever postcards you send us, they're a gift. And we all appreciate you for making the journey for the rest of us. Okay, I'm Mikko, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!